island of Sodor is surrounded by beautiful blue sea. It has fields of green and sandy yellow beaches. There are rivers, streams, and lots of trees where the birds sing. There are windmills and a coal mine, and docks where visitors to the island arrive. The island also has lots and lots of railway lines. Who's that puffing down the track? It's Thomas! Hello, Thomas! Hello, everybody! Welcome to the island of Sodor. Today on the island of Sodor, we'll see James and his brand new freight cars. Then see Toby help Farmer McColl. Then follow Duncan on an exciting adventure. But first, here's James and Thomas. Thomas's new trucks. It was a busy, bustling day on the island of Sodor. The engines and their freight cars were working very hard. Thomas was shunting freight cars in the yard, but his cars were old and rusty. It was very hard work. Then James arrived. "Look," James puffed proudly, "Sir Topham Hatt gave me some smart new freight cars. They're much nicer than yours." "It's not fair," moaned Thomas. "I want new cars too." The next morning, Sir Topham Hatt had a surprise for Thomas. "Thomas, your trucks are getting too old for your heavy loads. You ought to have some new ones, just like James." Thomas was delighted. Thomas collected his new freight cars and puffed proudly away. But when Thomas arrived at the docks, there was James. He was showing his new freight cars to Bill and Ben. "I've got new freight cars too," puffed Thomas. "They're even nicer than James's," puffed Bill and Ben. "Your freight cars may be nice and new now," huffed James, "but you'll never keep yours as clean as mine." "Yes, I will," chuffed Thomas. "I'll have the cleanest freight cars on the island." James watched Thomas puff away. The next day, Thomas puffed into the quarry. James's cars were already loaded. "I've got my stone already," boasted James, "and not a spot of quarry dust on me." "I can do that too," pouted Thomas. So Thomas backed under the hopper. But just as the stone was released, Thomas's freight cars chuckled. Then they rolled a bit more. "Bother," huffed Thomas. "Ha!" puffed James. "Your cars don't look so new now." Thomas was cross. Thomas puffed to the coaling plant. "This time, behave yourselves," Thomas snapped. "I want you to stay clean." When he arrived, Thomas backed carefully and slowly under the coal hopper. But the freight cars chuckled. Then they rolled too far again. Thomas and his freight cars were dirtier than ever.